I do. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome at Southeast College, and welcome back for the ones who are really coming to all our great conversations organized by the Tech Hub Estevan and also the Center of Sustainable Innovations at Southeast College. We're going to be a 1 year very, very soon, right, Tania and Gordon? Here at Southeast College, my name is Dr. Vicky Roy, and I'm the President and CEO of Southeast College. So tonight we're going to have a great conversations about innovations and conservation with Gordon and Tania. So I want to start by saying the pizza is so great, and it's also we thank EB's Dinning for the pizza sponsoring and all the foods that we have. And prior to start the conversations, I just want to make sure then we are acknowledging the lands where we sit at Southeast College. We acknowledge that we are located on traditional lands referred to as the Treaty 4 and Treaty 2 territories, the original lands of the Cree, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect and honor the treaties that we were made on all territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. And we are committed to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliations and collaborations. So I'm not going to wait. I can see my colleague Tania, who's played a big role in the Center of Sustainable Innovations, and to get her started with the innovation conversation. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Hello and welcome to Southeast College. Again, as Vicky said, my name is Tania Andrist, and my role here at the college is the Lead Grants Officer, Applied Research. I'm a newcomer to Estevan. I've been here for 21 years now, and my background is actually from Regina. I attended the University of Regina, and my focus was journalism, communication, and fundraising and fund development. In 2019, I completed a certificate called Certificate in Nonprofit Leadership and Innovation. So fancy that. So, and here we are in 2024 with an innovation conversation. I'd like to now introduce Gordon Moore.
Wow, this is a great turnout. I was saying to Tania, we've been trying to get people out. We thought it had to be free beer, but free pizza seemed to work. So thank you for all coming. So if you don't know who I am the executive director of the Southeast Tech Hub. My background, some of you may or may not know it. So in 2006, I co-founded a software company in the final mile logistics and reverse logistics. That's delivering things and bringing things back. And we have offices in Vancouver and Sydney, Australia. Most of our clients are in the United States and some are in Australia. A fun thing I can now say, I am now enrolled at MIT. I am taking technology and innovation acceleration. So to me, that's a big one because back when I was 19, I wanted to do that. And then I listened to all the negative people that are around me at that time. So coming here, being around positive people, it encouraged me to go and do it. So I did it. So first thing I just want to talk about, something actually I just learned at school. There's a thing called the polder method. So if you've been to the Netherlands or you know much about the Netherlands, you'll know that 80% of the land there is under sea level. And over the last 500-600 years, they have built an irrigation system. And those windmills that you see all the pictures of, their job is to take the water out of the dikes and put it into the ocean. So the polder method, it's within their culture. If you have a bunch of people living on one of those polders, those little islands there, or a community or a city, so you have multiple cities, multiple communities, and they start having a debate, and they start having a discussion. If that became poisonous, if that became violent, then what would happen to the dikes? What would happen to the windmills? They would stop working. And so everyone would flood and you'd lose everything. So the polder method is about discussing the facts, discussing the ideas, but being respectful to the person who's saying them. So I think that's just something I was just really inspired of and wanted to bring it up. But first, let me tell you a quick little story. Oops. It didn't work. Hold on. Of course. Of course. It was a year of people constantly asking, why would I move from this to this? Because that's not really how it is. Let me show you how it really is. It's an open and rugged landscape. A field filled with contrasting colors. Endless in sunflowers, where deer stand in yellow, and bison runs across its plains. And its skies, with its endless sunsets of colors beyond anything I have seen, or how they take on a life of their own. It becomes the land of the living sky. It's a place where the West is still alive, where ranches still lie, where you can learn to fly, get dirt in your face, and finish into a sunset. Or feel the sounds of a race car's engine reverberating through you. Yes, the winters are cold, but you can feel the freedom of skating on a frozen road. So the real question is, why haven't you made the same move? Thank you. So, sorry? Oh yeah, I have to hold the mic to the mouth. So why did I show that? That is what I was supposed to do. In like 2019, 2020, when my wife was given the job to become a doctor in Saskatchewan, and we were thinking about what do I get? What do I got to do? So I wanted to leave the software company and do that. I have, believe it or not, I have credits with National Geographic for underwater shark footage. And then just before I left the UN, I did a video for the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, which is the Howe Sound, which is the body of water on the way to Whistler. So I was supposed to do that. And then a couple things happened. First was I was invited, so I got to remember to put this near my mouth. I was invited to an ECDEV meeting, and I heard John Donahue, one of the union leaders, stand up. I had no idea. I didn't even know what that big building off in the horizon was. Even though my great-grandfather is buried here, I had no idea. And he said that the community was about to lose a third of its population, 3,000 people. And that hit. So then another thing happened is the city let me have an office. at the tech hub, because I wasn't working there yet. I was still running my company. And in that, St. Mary's Elementary did a pitch competition, and they asked me to be one of the judges. The kids blew me away. The story I love the most is these two young women, grade 8, came up with, they took the normal sensors that you can get for soil and tell you how dry the soil is, and they put it into the pot of a plant. And the idea being, when you came home, Alexa or Siri would say that pot plant, or that pot, needed to be watered. And I was blown away by that. I think all of us who saw that, we were all blown away. But then I realized when they left that building, there was nothing here for them. We now have Steve Elton at the comp doing computer science, but at that time, there was nothing at all. And it didn't make sense. And then Jeff over there introduced me to his best buddy, Jeff Sandquist, former VP of Microsoft, now running Automatic, which is just a little company. They own little things like WordPress and Tumblr. And then after that, I got to meet Dr. Eric Grimson, born and raised here, Chancellor of MIT from 2014, currently the Chancellor of Academics, still working there. He's been working on AI for 50 years. He's from here. And it didn't make any sense to me. Why is a community that can raise those two people and those young women in St. Mary's, why is that community looking down a gun, and at the other side was a third of its population leaving? It made no sense. So with that, I decided I would like to do more with the tech hub. Long story short, they were silly enough and they said, yeah, come and work. So I ended up working full time as the executive director. And since then, I've been formulating something, and this is what I want to show you. So what it is ICED, the Innovation Center for Energy Development. Something I came to understand: in Canada right now, there is not a single center that is focused in on the development, innovation of energy. And in my brain, that is weird, that is strange. As we all know in this community, more than most communities across this country, this is the biggest disruption right now. Why is our country not doing that? I can't go Canada-wide yet, but we can start off small, start off here. And what ICED is, it's not yet another nonprofit organization. What it is an agreement between the Southeast Tech Hub, which, by the way, I now call SETH, because Big Bang Theory, why not? Anyways, and the innovation, sorry, the I always get this wrong, Center of Sustainable, I always want to call for Center of Sustainable Innovation. So with that, before we get into more of the structure, Tania's just going to quickly talk about what the Center of Innovation does.
Okay. So there it is, the word salad of the Center of Sustainable Innovation. And I thought we'd just break it down a little bit first into the words and define those for us today. What is innovation in an academic setting? So innovation is new and novel ways of doing something. That's it. It's solving a problem. It's discovery through real life testing. And what is sustainable in this context? It's not about the plastic straws. Sustainable is decision-making that considers the future. So if we can, at the end of this conversation, we hear about all these exciting things that could happen in this community with many, many new jobs, it's not sustainable if we're not prepared for that. So it's preparing to have the labor force ready, and it's thinking about the kind of skills that those jobs are going to require. And that's what makes a center of sustainable innovation to bring long-term benefits to the region. So here at Southeast College, what is the Center of Sustainable Innovation? Our aim is to make something here that mimics a lot of bigger universities or bigger colleges. It's a post-secondary option for people in our region. It's flexible programming, it's creative, and it's using that word innovative. And it's also applied research. We're going to talk more about applied research, but it is something that we can do here get funding for that research, because now we are a certified, we have what's called tri-agency funding, and we can get funding from the federal bodies that, again, fund academic research. And this is not something that hasn't been done in lots of other places in Canada, growing colleges. In fact, in BC, what they've done there was colleges that were portables, and they attached themselves to an applied research center. They found the proximity to their industry. They found success because there's industry in their community, and they did their research, they got their funding, and they built it over time. And then again, these universities or these colleges became real powerhouses and real anchors to their communities. So we have that potential to do projects here. We're just starting in the fall a 2-year program called Mental Health and Addiction Counseling. We have an addiction center here in our community. We can partner with the addiction center and the college to do research projects on activities that are happening there. And those are the kind of things that can happen here with the projects we're doing. There's many opportunities for us because of this energy. And there's energy synergies, as you can see. There's John at the CCUS when we toured it at the power plant, and that in itself is a giant applied research project that our community put together. And of course, having an applied research center in our community is beneficial for industry. That strengthens applications for their funding, for federal funding, for loans, for whatever it looks like. The things that are happening here, we want to keep them here. We shouldn't be sending our research or we want the scientists to come here. We shouldn't be sending our research far away. Okay, Gord, you're up. Here's the clicker.
So I'm going to try to keep, in my job, what I had to do is I'd go talk to truck drivers, and then I'd go talk to computer programmers. So I've tried to learn how to speak English when I get technical. So if I lose you, just let me know. Also, if you want to know more detail, I'm always up to have a little nerd fest, so just come and find me afterwards and we can talk some fun details. But okay, so the Southeast Tech Hub, what is the Southeast Tech Hub actually about? It's about diversification and development of our economy in Southeast Saskatchewan. And when I say diversification, I'm not saying we're going to get rid of X to make Y. I'm saying we're going to keep X and we're going to add on to X with Y. We're adding more on to it. And how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to help bring in companies, and you'll see a few that I've chosen in a minute, into our community that will help us along that. The other part, the best part, is from the ground roots. We're going to help, and we are already helping, as you saw with the pitch comp, as you've seen with Rod at the Predator drones, and with Legacy a little bit there too, right? We're already helping local companies get going in this new type of innovation and technology. But the other big piece is, the fun part that I love the most, is working with the educators. So what that story I was talking about, the comp here has done an amazing job. Steve Elton, the computer science teacher, went out and learned Python and Java on his own. That's pretty tough, eh, Ryan, to learn that kind of stuff. And he is now, 2 years into it. So the idea is, if we're going to have people within our community grow new companies in technology, there's going to have to be people here with that skill set. The other thing is, as we bring people in from the world to come and work here, they're going to need that extra skill within. And again, I'm not replacing X, I'm keeping X. We're just adding on computer science to these skills. So one of the cool things that we have been doing is just yesterday, this was so much fun. It took us a year to get there, but our little robot that we're building with the comp can now wave. He's got an arm that moves. It's so cool. But the other cool thing that you might have heard about is we did our pitch competition, where we had four different groups stand up here and pitch their idea. And I know, Roy, we were one of the judges. I don't know if any of the other judges were here, but we all felt empathy for them when they had to go up there for 45 minutes to an hour trying to figure out who's going to win, because everyone who pitched deserved to win. It was awesome, and it really speaks to the innovation that is within our community. And the other thing is Dr. Eric Grimson, Chancellor of MIT from here. He came here and stood on this stage. In fact, that's him right there. He came here and talked, and we keep in touch, and he's helping out. as best as he can. And then we have Dr. Aaron Janae, I can never say his name, from Siemens come down, and Ran from PTRC. And we're doing the drone racing, which is on hold a bit right now because everyone's playing hockey, but we'll bring that back. But a little bit thing about, it's important to know about the Southeast Tech Hub. With my company, people thought of Gord first and IDS second. The Southeast Tech Hub existed before I even knew I was coming to Saskatchewan. The city created the Innovation Council. The Innovation Council and the community got together and decided to create the Southeast Tech Hub. I just happened to show up and got inspired. So this isn't my thing. I'm just jumping in and helping out. Okay, so ICE, let's get back to that. You know what Tania's doing, you know what I'm doing. So ICE, in the Innovation Center for Energy Development. This is the structure. Sorry, I'll try not to keep it too boring, but I think you guys need to understand how it all works. That blue square is ICE. Everything inside that Innovation Center for Energy Development is the nuts and bolts and how it works. So on the left, you've got Tania's organization, the Center for Sustainable Innovation. I'll just say CSI, it's easier. And on the right, you have SETH. And in the middle, you have, it says SME. That's just how dumb people like me want to act smart. That really just means startups, new companies. And then you have corporations, and they're in the middle. So what happens is in this new structure, if they need advanced education, training, advanced applied research, they talk to the college. If they need private business funding, so attaching to venture capital, so private capital. If they need that, if they need to do business plan, if they just need to get connected to their industry, I can help with that. So within all of that, we've got 5 cornerstones to this, and we're going to get into all of these in detail further into the night. But just to give you an idea, so you got your structure. We have who's doing what, and underneath you got like 5 labs, shall we say. So you've got the hydrogen hub, talk about that more detail. You got the solar powered data center. You have the organic chemistry lab, the micro grid, and computer science through training. So remember, we're gonna go through all of this in more detail. And also, all of this is now live on our website in full detail. So if you go at the back there, there's some pages with, and you can just click the QR code. So if you want to take notes, go for it. And this video will be live tomorrow as well. So with a business, because that's where my brain works after doing this for 20 years, I'm looking at this as a business. Not profit, but a business. So who's my market segments? My market segments are applied research, as Tania was talking about, and product development. So I'm not gonna, I'd love to sit here and do a class on applied research, but I'm not going to. I think we'd got, well, maybe you guys would enjoy it. But in applied research, there are 970 labs across Canada doing applied research of any type. Under that, there are 6 that are doing applied research in utilities and natural resources. Why did I pick that? It's because within those people are also doing energy. Right now, there is not, again, one center that's solely focused on energy. So applied research. Again, I'm not going to give you a big class. These are just the 9 steps of applied research. So I'll just break this down for you. So the first ones are someone goes to a researcher, a lab rat, a PhD, postdoc person, and they say, I have a problem, can you solve it for me? And so they will do their best within the lab to create a prototype, a solution to that. But once you have that prototype, you got to see how it actually works in the real world. And so in that applied research, we have the perfect, and I'll get into that in a minute, but we have the perfect space here for them to do their applied research. And then you see the validation. All that is you put that project out into the world, and then you keep reiterating it and make it work. Now, just quickly on product development, the best, I think it's not totally accurate, but the best way to say what's the difference is say product development is for us for-profit people and applied research is for advanced ed. I know that's not 100% true, but we'll leave it at that. The best way to describe it is during COVID, my software company, to survive and keep up with our competitors, we had to introduce AI dispatching so that make things more efficient. And so once we had that going, we had to see how it worked in the real world. So we had to reach out to some of our larger clients, and then they ran it, and then we reiterated it. So for product development, we would be doing the same thing. These are the 7 steps. What's in bold there, so the prototype and the development, is what we can do here. So a good example is, we know I drive an EV, as does my wife. Her EV is better than mine because mine's older, but the EVs don't work that great in the cold. The first company that figures out how to make that EV work in the cold is going to be a very wealthy company. So they could come up here and reiterate their battery technology, their car technology, to see how it works. Don't worry, I don't care if you still drive a diesel. I'm totally chill with that. It's all good. So who am I going to go after? So with my software company, how did I make it successful? One of the biggest ways I made it successful, I love my country. It's an amazing country, but I way rather do business with an American any day, all day. And with that idea, I started my gap analysis. I started looking at how much money is available for product development and applied research. So obviously, no surprise, the United States spend more money on applied research. That's private and public money, so government and industry money, and that is per GDP. The interesting thing that surprised me was South Korea, a country with absolutely no natural resources, is tied with them as well. And look how well that country is doing. Unfortunately, this is not a battle I'm going to fight, because my battle is to make companies exist in SETH. But I just think it's interesting, and I would like to pass this on to you. Canada, we're 22nd, we're 23rd. Every single G7 nation, every single G20 nation, every member of the OECD, that just means developed nations, spend more than us, public and private. And in fact, there are 2 undeveloped African nations per capita that spend more money per GDP on those 2 subjects. So something to think about. That is the world we live in. So that's why I'm going after the United States market. What sectors? I know it's kind of boring. Hopefully it's some kind of interesting, but what sectors are we going after? It's all about energy. So this is what we know. This is what our passion is. This is what our skill set is. Energy generation, energy transmission, energy storage, and energy inside transportation. I'm not about transportation itself, but like I was talking about with EVs or with transportation in the agricultural industry, which I'll talk about some more in a minute. So why SETH? When Negan and Negan works with me. She's one of my best employees I've ever had. True story. When we showed this to Dr. Eric Grimson from MIT, because we wanted to get his input, he just loved that second icon there that said, why SETH? Because it goes from -40 to +40. Where else in the world does it actually do that for a significant amount of time? Electrons act very different at -40 than they act at +40. So perfect environment for this to happen for those 2 segments I was talking about. If you ever seen my TikToks, one of the first TikToks I ever did was me trying to get out of my car, and I couldn't open the door because it was so windy. So I had to go out the passenger seat. So we have a lot of great wind here. And we are the sunniest city in all of Canada with 2,500 hours of sunshine. And with our geothermal, we have hot but deep formations. It's good reasons. And also because we are the city of energy, and because our whole region has a historic connection to coal, to oil and gas, we have the skills already here. Remember, I'm not replacing X, I'm adding on to X with Y. So we need those skills, we need those blue collar jobs, we need those trades to make this happen. It's a good, strong point. Another thing is, when I've been talking out into the community and getting some feedback on this, CCS, people say to me, why isn't SETH getting the pat on the back for being the first place in the world to do CCS and power production? And sometimes being the first disruptor sucks. So with my software company, we were one of the first in the world to ever track a phone via GPS before iPhone and Android existed. It was hard to sell. And then iPhone came along and Android came along and it was easier to sell. The world's now catching up and realizing that CCS is necessity to make things happen. So on this graph here, those bar graphs, the light blue, the bottom, is what actually exists. Everything else is, oh, could happen, maybe in the future, sort of. We're already there, and our CCS, and I'm not just talking about boundary, I'm talking about the whole connection all the way up to Weyburn and the enhanced oil recovery with Whitecap Resources. We have this infrastructure already here. The world is wishing they had it as well. Another neat thing is geographically, if I'm going to be going out into the United States saying, come here, set up shop here, we're 15 minutes away from them, from the border. Also with our railway line, I don't know if you are aware of this, but CP merged with Kansas City. So that means the trains here, and you've probably seen it as you're sitting there waiting for the trains to go by, it says Kansas City and they'll say New Mexico. So you could get on a train in Weyburn or Estevan and go all the way into Mexico. That's important, because it's the only north-south railway line that connects all 3 NAFTA nations. Tesla is building a gigafactory in Mexico. It's called compound annual growth rate. It's CAGR, it's the way you measure things growth. So they're saying that the compound annual growth for electric vehicle manufacturing in Mexico is something like 300-400%. And that's important because, like with Roy's work that he's doing with the coal to graphite and some other things I'm going to show you, we need to tap into that supply chain. We already are. And not just the EVs. Mexico, with the reshoring of all the stuff that's happening in Asia, a lot of that's going to Mexico, meaning there's a big move to have a lot of manufacturing come back to North America. A lot of that's going to Mexico. We're tied right into that. So whatever we create here, we can send down there for manufacturing. Aerospace. CIC was even, the Crown Investment Corp was even surprised. They were like, that's your airport? And I'm like, yeah, that's our airport. So as you guys have all seen, the Hercules doing laps around here. The reason why that is the way is that we have 2 paved runways, which I'm sure you know, but the critical aircraft, so the aircraft, the biggest aircraft that can land there is a 737. And it's Class G airspace. So what that means, it's uncontrolled. So it's easy to do things there. And the other part is that it's quiet. It's very quiet airspace. So if you're wanting to do energy, applied research, or product development with aerospace, we've got the perfect location. And again, Eric at MIT, right? He was really excited about that. So that was cool. He's not making any promises. It was just affirming we were on the right path. Agriculture, well, of course, right? We have the largest agricultural industry as a province in Canada, but don't forget, we got North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, all below us. And that will mean something as I get further on. Okay, so operational plan. So I've turned this into an operational plan. You can go online, you can read more details. It's for the next 3 years. So one thing is that I'm a firm believer that you can never have one person doing something for the company, ever. If I get hit by a bus, what happens? So it's really important that I have 3 people working with me. Negan's already one, and I'm already teaching her and training her, and she's amazing. I need another person and to teach and to train. So these skills that I know, like I can call up some of the largest financial asset companies. I can call up the largest and talk to them. I need to make that connection with other people so that it's not just about Gord. The other part is, I can't see that. So to help out with our local SMEs, our local startups, they're gonna need prototyping. So 3D printer and AutoCAD. So we're gonna need that as well. So what am I gonna do in the next 3 years? These seem like big numbers, but as you're gonna see later on, I'm well on the way. I'm going to create 300, or we're going to create 500 new jobs, and we're going to bring into the community or grow from the grassroots 30 new companies. We're going to do it. Okay, enough of me. Back to Tania.
Thank you. So as Gord mentioned, one of the deficits in our community, of course, is the digital and the computer science training. And in order to be sustainable moving forward with all of these opportunities, we need to provide computer science training at a post-secondary institute. It doesn't exist here. and we need to prepare our local workforce. And so we've come up with a novel, new programming called Computer Science Training Through Projects. There it is. Students are paired with a project. So it's not like you sign up and you register in the fall and then everyone takes the exact same courses. That is not sustainable for our community actually at this point. But with the computer science training through projects, students become paired with a project, and then with industry, with their instructor, they develop a work plan to solve a real world problem. Innovation like this have come in the past from Skunk Works or Phantom Works, they were called in the aerospace industry. They put together groups of aeronautic engineers and the brightest minds in order to solve really complex problems, and that's how they came up with the stealth bomber. So for here, we don't have to be that complicated. Let's say the city of Estevan wants something new on their website and they need some programming to happen. And so they could provide us with a project, we could provide them with the student and the success of a real world problem. They would learn the skills, they would, and then they would, again, we would increase the competencies of the workforce in our community and build partnerships as well. Gord, you're back on. Take the clicker.
Tania, I'm just going to go off script for a sec. I had a virtual Teams meeting with the head of and one of his VPs of one of the large potash mines here. The mines that they're putting in right now, there's only one person down in the hole at the cut face, and they're behind a computer. Everything, they have their own mobile network through the entire work, and everyone's upstairs. You need now to have computer science training. You don't have to have a degree, but you need to have computer science training now to even work in a mine. So that's where we are, and we don't have, there's no community. I just want to really reiterate what Tania was saying. In all of Southeast Saskatchewan, if you're an adult and you want to do some education in computer science, there's not a single place you can go to. You have to leave. And what does that say to our future Jeff Senquests or our future Eric Grimsons? Leave. That's not what we want. So there's more to it than just helping out this bigger project. All right, so now I'm going to get into some of the fun stuff. So I really got to reiterate something here. When, again, coming back to my software company, you know, you've probably seen it in movies when someone gets a big deal, you walk up to a bell and you ring the bell and then we all go out for drinks and we all get drunk and celebrate. We only did that once the software was installed at the customer's office and they had used it and we got our first paycheck. I am not making any promises. This is just it's to the point where it's looking so good, I want to talk about it. So what we're going to say is once that first employee gets their first paycheck, they're going to all take, that one person's going to take, or them, they're going to take us all out for drinks and we're going to celebrate. So, okay, so let's get into this. So data center, if you don't know what a data center is, so data centers, servers, that is what hosts your Facebook. That is what hosts your email. That is what hosts anything that you're doing online. That is a server on a data center. And that needs a lot of electricity. That needs a lot of power. So currently right now, data centers produce as much greenhouse gases as the aviation industry. By 2040, if it continues on, it will be equal to 14% of all emissions. That is why Amazon, Google, Microsoft have been very outward about going 100% renewable. That is why in Alberta, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft have bought those servers. And I know personally from that Microsoft one is very true. Because remember, my software company was trucking. So back in 2014, the Department of Transport went out to my clients in the United States, and they're big. They're Fortune 500 companies, and they said, you need to reduce your greenhouse emissions. There was nothing for them. They couldn't go get a Cybertruck or whatever. It didn't even exist. So they came after us, supply chain people. And they said, you need to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. So to survive, to exist as a company, I had to switch over to Microsoft because they were already certified as carbon neutral. So it's not my personal opinion. It's not my politics. It's keeping the company alive. So the other part, whose Facebook went down last night? You guys all went through all that, right? So there's a good chance that happened because the grid that Facebook's main server or wherever, that or the Chinese did it, who knows, it went down. There was a blackout. So 43% of all server crashes are because the grid went down. So put that in there. And another thing to think about is, on the internet, we're all putting more and more and more on the internet. No one's taking stuff off the internet. So all that data staying there, it's building up more and more and more. And also cloud-based software. So when you're doing something that's cloud-based, all the processing power is also on a server. So that's happening more and more. So there is a compound annual growth rate, or it's going to grow by 320% between now and 2030. That's how much more in North America data centers they're going to need. It's amazing. Now, something that this community knows a lot about, electricity prices are going up. Did you know that? So they're predicting in the United States overall, the average cost of electricity for all the different states, jurisdictions, will hit 24 cents. That cuts right into their profits. That's their biggest cost. They have to keep that cost down. So putting all that together, the solar clouds, SunCloud. Now SunCloud, this is what they're presenting to the community. Just to give you some idea, is the principle behind it is a person by the name of Chadwick Manning. If you look up Chadwick Manning, he is in the Forbes 30 under 30. By the time he was like 32, 33, he had created a company, brought it to the New York Stock Exchange. It went public, and he sold all his shares and he exited, a very wealthy man. It makes you feel small sometimes, I guess. I don't know. So this is the data center, and that is the little, that is the actual data center. These are solar panels. Yes, I know, we'll get into it further. That's what it'll look like. That is what the data center in that middle part looks. But these little things here, those are natural gas, right? Because they're real. So you're going to have solar and you're going to have natural gas. One thing that they have agreed with, so those are four, they don't need four, they just have to have redundancies. So one of them, they are going to allow us to do applied research and product development on CCS for natural gas. When we go out there, when I go out there and look, and maybe Brian, you can help with this, but from what I understand, there has not been much applied research in CCS for natural gas, which surprised me. And we all know they're going to need that. So our community already knows CCS. It's a perfect project for us. And those projects turn into manufacturing jobs. So that's kind of cool. And this is what the inside of it looks. Those are batteries. So the whole project overall will have 300 megawatts of battery storage. So you got your solar, the solar going to the battery, and if that doesn't work, you hit the natural gas. It's pretty cool. But when they came to me, I was like, hey, this is not going to work for our community. And they said, no, it's all right. Here's something to give to you. This will be the third one. They've already built one down in Clarksville, Arkansas. I've talked to the mayor and the ECDEV officer. These panels, you can see by the people right there, how big they are. They follow the sun. They're not like these ones that you see up to Weyburn, they're just stuck there. So these will follow the sun north, up and down to get as much electricity as possible. That means they're quite high. So in Clarksville, Arkansas, they have 500 head of cattle, and they're growing alfalfa underneath their solar. So when I heard that, I said, okay, maybe this could work. So what would they invest into our community? So those numbers add up to around 2.1 billion US. This is not going to be Canadian taxpayer money. This is US private venture money being invested into our community. I can't say the company, but this and the other one, if I said the name, yeah, they're the largest asset management company in the world behind this. So this is how much land they need. So 4,000. So I can't say who we're talking to, but anyone want to guess? But we're talking to a couple of people who, two groups about land, and we're doing our best to use land that's not currently in the agricultural space. Just leave it at that with a big grin on my face. Okay, so what will this mean for our community? Around 170 to 200 full-time permanent jobs. Those salaries that you see there, that's in US dollars. The other neat thing is they have the need for a power engineer. Because you got solar, you got battery, you got natural gas. They need the same skill set as what we have here at Boundary. So maybe with this, the college can start offering that program again. It'd be amazing. So again, they have one, they're building one right now in Clarksville, Arkansas. They already built one in Nevada, and they're building a fourth right behind us in Wyoming, and they're actually now in talks with Montana, because in Montana, they have a mandate to shut down all their coal plants by 2025. So they're jumping in on there to help that stuff out. And did you guys see that news article yesterday? Amazon bought a nuclear power plant. Isn't that crazy? So that's where this whole thing is going. So we could be jumping in on there. Now, why is this important to ICE? So if I'm going out into the world and saying, come to Estevan, do your product development, your applied research here, they need computed power. So much is now their database, their AI for the tracking of the sun with the solar. They need access to that. So that is an important piece for me to go out into the world and say, we have this here. Okay, now back to Tania.
Thank you. Thank you. Additionally on the wish list is a microgrid energy system right here at the campus. And as the energy research evolves, we can build a microgrid at this campus using alternative energy. And then as these businesses come in and industry needs to test their batteries, for example, they can plug into the microgrid and see if that works. So it's all opportunities, again, to build on the synergies of what's already happening here and inspires others to come join us in the neighborhood, just like Richard has here, of what's happening in our neighborhood, if there was a microgrid operating. And we've got something else on our wish list, an organic chemistry lab. Now, the intention of an organic chemistry lab, if you're going to be studying chemistry in this region, local industry has to ship their samples all the way to Saskatoon. And if we had a lab here, there would be such a need for applied research in water, in the coal to graphite, and again, it would bring scientists and research here rather than having the science and research go somewhere else. After all of Gord's stories, mine is pretty short, but back to you.
All right.
Clicker.
So this is the one I am the most excited about, and this is why it's at the end. So hydrogen. If you don't know why hydrogen is so important these days and everyone's talking about it, is back in my old home community where I was born, North Vancouver, back in the 90s, a company called Ballard Fuel Cells came out, and they're the guys. What you do is you take hydrogen and you pass it metal, a certain type of metal, and what happens is that gets the hydrogen to bond with oxygen. So hydrogen H plus oxygen O, H2O, you get water. And when it does that, it releases an electron. So isn't that amazing? You get water and electricity. So it's super cool. The other thing is you can burn hydrogen. Just seeing if there's anybody teachers here. So that is actually called rapid oxidization. And what that happens is, again, you take the oxygen, what's happening is when you burn it, the oxygen bonds with the hydrogen. And again, that makes water, but it gives us energy and heat. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty clean, shall we say. So that's why it's getting a lot of buzz right now. So again, remember, this is not a promise. It's looking really darn good. As of today, it's looking pretty good, but no promises. So what are they going to do? So our coal is barely been fossilized. This is the way it's been explained to me, meaning that our coal is still pretty close to the same composition of its original form, which was peat. And why is that important? Well, they already have technology in this world that can turn biomass to hydrogen. Biomass, what I mean by that is agricultural waste, sewage in Chicago, they're turning sewage. And they can use existing technology to turn our coal into hydrogen. And the other cool thing about that is When you do that, you get carbon dioxide. But in this process, which is existing a process, this is the thing this is not, like in the last year when people called me up and said, hey, Gord, we have this cool new idea. I was like, is it shovel ready? No, don't want to talk to you. We need jobs. So the carbon dioxide comes out as a liquid. So I got these guys talking with RAN at PTRC. They're the group that oversee the CCS infrastructure that I talked about. And RAN would love to buy, and they're already talking about buying that CO2 so that they can sell it to Whitecap Resources. There's a company that we've been talking to for a while that want to make batteries out of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide in liquid form or powdered form is becoming so valuable right now. Isn't it weird? So this is that part that I was talking about, where when people in the community say, why don't we get the kudos? Now we're getting it. So what that means is the University of Chicago, it's like Green or Greep, I forget the name, have been given the authority by the US government to say what is green hydrogen. So green hydrogen meaning near to no emissions when you make hydrogen. And this passed that. They showed them the infrastructure, the plans that they want to build here, and we've now sent them 2 samples of coal, and they've done that. So this would actually be green hydrogen. Why is that important? Because then it's sustainable. So this is not going to be like, yay, we build it, and then, those guys back east come along and shut us down again, or what have you. They should like this. So that's pretty cool. This is what it would look like. So we'll build it out by the coal plant or the coal mine. And they need 3,000 to 4,000 tons of coal a day. And they already have customers ready to buy the hydrogen. It's not build it and I hope they come. The customers are like, can you build it faster? Can you build it faster? We need it. So when you see these dates, that's just them giving us a feel for if everything were to happen. So let's all be real. It's going to take a few years to make this happen, for sure. But just with the coal to hydrogen part, because there's another part, that's 200 jobs. Plus a whole bunch of coal miners get to keep their jobs. And the number there, just for this part, $2.4 billion US into our community. From the US, it's not government tax dollars, not from Canada, it's coming from the US. Remember how I was talking about my gap analysis? There you go. And in that, they will sell $775 million worth of hydrogen. It's pretty impressive. But here's the thing about hydrogen. Right now, you have to use your hydrogen within 200 kilometers of where you make it. Most people. So like when you're doing oil refinery and that kind of stuff and you need hydrogen, most people will just produce the hydrogen right there using methane. Just leave it at that. And so they can't really transport it. But you see that rocket there? Remember the space shuttle when it took off and you see the big plume? That's water. Most of that was water. Or when you saw the Apollo missions, or you saw we'll just see the Apollo missions. We won't go further back. Mercury. Again, you'd see those big plumes. That's water. Now Tesla. Now Elon's using kerosene and methane, but they used hydrogen. Why is that important? Because since the 50s, NASA has created technology that can store and transport hydrogen effectively. The thing about hydrogen, to make it safe, like everything, so the Hindenburg and it blew up, well, that was because it's gaseous, so gas. But if you put it into liquid form, it's not explosive. The problem is if you put it in liquid form, you have to keep it down to minus 255 degrees. To give you some perspective, absolute zero, meaning when all matter stops motion, so it's completely zero, you can't go below that, is minus 276. So we're only 20 degrees off. So to keep something like that, that's why you have to make it within 200, you have to use it within 200 kilometers of where you made it. This, I wish I could share it. When they come up, we'll get them to share their IP, I'm not gonna do it. But their process stores the hydrogen in such a way that it's like minus 50. So that means that our hydrogen that we produce can go to Washington State, it could go to Florida. And this group, they own that IP. They own the intellectual property. What I mean by that is they own the patents and they're part of this. So I'm not going to geek out. If you want a nerd fest with me later, just find me and we can talk about it more. But this is just a little bit of background on that. But essentially, it will be another $2 billion US into our community from a very large asset company and not government. And again, this is what the facility for that pressurizing would make. They're even talking about, when I showed them our stats can numbers that I showed you about our labor force, they're like, and with our away line, they're saying, well, why couldn't we start building those tanks here? So that's another possibility. I don't know, could be. So, but the other part about this, remember, I'm going to bring it back to ICE. Yay, it's awesome. We've saved a whole bunch of coal miners' jobs, right? And it's great that we've got all this new investment. Let's go further. So the agriculture. If a farmer was to use hydrogen in his combine and his tractors, he would reduce his fuel cost, or they would reduce their fuel cost to 25%, not by, to 25% of their current costs. And technology, you can mandate whatever you want, but unless it does something, unless it solves a pain, unless it saves people money, no one's going to go for it. So that means Case and John Deere, they've already started their applied research and product development on combines running hydrogen. Electricity is not going to make it just because of the weight of batteries, or are we going to put phase 3 wiring all through Saskatchewan for combines? That's not going to happen. So hydrogen is an excellent use case. And like I showed you and reminded all of us where we are and what we do. The other thing is aerospace. Hydrogen, without the technology that Gen H2 and NASA had, you couldn't really do hydrogen in airplanes because of the containers, but this IP will allow that. And Gen H2 just sent me a press release where they have drones now flying off hydrogen, from here to Regina on one tank. So with our airport, what an amazing, we got the hydrogen. Oh, by the way, this could be the largest hydrogen plant in North America. Could be, if it works. But we would have all this hydrogen and the aerospace there, the airport right there. So another spinoff we can do. I'm all about the spinoffs. Let's not just go, hey, we survive. Let's go, yay, now what's next? Let's grow. So with that, I'm not some guy coming in from Toronto, coming in here and telling you what's happening. These are just ideas. They're very good ideas. I've talked to the funders for these things. I've checked out their IP. I've done my background. But it's not going to happen unless we get community support. So right now, if you, like I was saying earlier, if you were to go on our website, svanhub.ca, you'll see this whole thing up there in more detail. We would love it if you guys could share it and discuss it and debate it. Just remember that Polder method, right? We want to debate the ideas, not the person. So discuss it, share it. The other thing is go out, not just in our community, but when you travel through Saskatchewan, through Canada or further, tell people about this. I was talking to a gentleman up in Weyburn 3-4 days ago. Next thing I know, I get a phone call from a guy in Vancouver. They're already doing greenhouses. We're always talking about greenhouses. They're already doing greenhouses. And just with that connection, off we go. So there's more, you guys talk about it. You never know who you meet, and they might want to come back and talk to us. The other thing is, the reality is there's no public money. There's little to no public money. So when we talk about our energy, we're going to need some, all the those big projects, they're covered, they're fine. But we're going to need some help with the organic chemistry lab, the computer science class, and the operational costs. The cool thing, SaskPower did come in and donate $300,000 worth of lab equipment, so we're moving. So we have some what we think are creative ways. Even we're not asking you guys here for money, but just again, when you share those pages around, you might bump into someone who's like, I need that place to do my applied research. I'm going to help you out. Because really, we're helping for-profit private businesses become profitable. So shouldn't they be helping pay for this? So that's the idea there. To Did I miss anything? Nope, good. Okay, cool. Okay, over to Tanya again.
It's short. You might not want to go very far. And just from our side, from the college side, how can you get involved, right? You're looking at how can I get involved? The sponsor documents are on the website. For the advanced research development grants, we do need industry partners. When I was making the joke about it wasn't really a joke, it was a suggestion for the City of Estevan website. But if there's a programming issue, if there's a small a problem that you think, hey, we could do some applied research at my industry, the investment is under $10,000, and we can leverage that with our possible funding through the government or through academic research grants up to $40,000. That pays for a researcher, that pays for us to do these, again, what Gord talks about, the iterations and the study. And then we put a study together and possibly solved your problem. And again, we build more and more foundation for us to do more research here. And that, of course, encourages more. So it's a building process. The college also provides charitable receipts. So if you get involved with the sponsorship or get involved with the research, we have the charitable receipts. And again, just to keep with the theme that Gord's talking about, keeping it positive, continuing to keep it positive. And you're on your last slide.
So again, remember, this is just my idea. This is me doing the job that I was asked to do as best as I can, and I think maybe a little bit more. So this could help us. How do you want at Southeast Saskatchewan, Estevan, to look in 2035? We're facing a third of our population going, or can we grow, I don't know, what do you want? 20, 30,000 people? I don't know. The other thing I want to say too is when we talk about this, we need more people to come up on a stage and present their ideas about moving this community forward. So just remember, when you're going out there and talking about it, we need to keep our community in a healthy way so that no one's scared to talk about what they want to do into the future. So just remember that as we go and talk. So with that, we're going to ask Roy to come up, Mayor Roy Ludwig, and just say a few words.
Thank you, Gord. Is it off?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Gord. Thank you so much for explaining.
Right at your face.
Thank you so much for explaining a lot of the things that the Tech Hub is doing. Very exciting stuff, and some of the opportunities that you're exploring, that we're collectively exploring. So it is exciting stuff. We ask all of you, there's no stupid questions. If you have questions, comments, please let us know, and we're willing to answer anything that we can. So thank you so much again for being here this evening and going down this journey that we're involved with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Roy. Ken, come on up. He's got such a styling shirt, man. You look so sharp. So a few words.
I'm not as polished as Roy. I'm going to have to read off a paper here. My name's Ken Hlohovsky. I'm an assistant business manager with the IBW 2067. We represent the workers at Sask Power. For generations, coal has provided a stable living for many people in the Southeast. Coal has provided us a low-cost, reliable energy source for power production in the province while providing stable, middle-class jobs for generations. Recent challenges have made it necessary for the coal workers of Estevan and Coronach to reconsider their options. While the IBW will never give up the fight for coal and CCS technology to remain part of the mix of power generation in Saskatchewan, the Southeast Tech Hub is also a way for our coal workers to explore other options. Our union membership has many tradespeople, technologists, and workers with ideas. Let's face it, ideas are a dime a dozen without the resources and supports to get them off the ground. The Tech Hub is one way to help these innovators make their visions a reality. For this reason, IBW supports the 3-year proposal with the Innovation Center for Energy Development. We're in an unprecedented position where as a community, we need to think towards the future and innovations, especially that have a focus on the value-added side of the coal industry. This can only make our community prosper.
Now, I have to say something to be truthful. I did not think of this idea at all. Jackie Wall thought of this idea 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, so you know it's a good idea when two people think of the same idea at different times. Jackie, you want to come up and say a few words? Did I throw you under the bus?
Could have taken the credit.
No, I don't want.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm executive director of the Estevan Chamber, and it's almost 9 years ago that I came into the role, and it was a very trying time. We just experienced the bust, the big oil bust. And I came into the office and I honestly had no idea what a chamber director does. I had a little bit of an idea. I do have a business degree, so I understood what a chamber of commerce does, but I didn't really understand this community. I'm even newer than Tania. I've only been here for about 12 years. And I started to tear apart everything about this community, the history. I really wanted to immerse myself and understand the members that I was going to be representing and the organization that I was becoming the lead staff person on. And as I was pulling everything apart, I realized that this is before GHG legislation. This is before Justin Trudeau. That the legislation that the Conservatives actually put in was that coal-fired generation 50 years. And I went to a board meeting. It might have been John and I having a conversation. I said, why is the community not talking about this? These units have to shut down. And we're 10 years out. Why is this not being talked about? And so the chamber started lobbying. We were not the most favorite people of Mike Marsh because we wanted answers and we wanted our community to be able to adapt and to have information on how we needed to do that. And so, yes, the chamber put together a couple of papers in 2018-ish. It was quite a while back. I'd have to look, one to the federal government and one to the Saskatchewan government, saying that this is the place. This needs to be the center for energy research, for energy excellence. I think I called it the Center for Energy Excellence. And we proposed that, but we didn't know where to go with that. We lobbied, we talked government, we talked industry, we did what we could as a chamber, but what it really takes is collaboration, and it takes key people coming in with the right connections, the right collaboration, and the right brain, nerdy as it may be, and I fit into that category. So Gord came to me when he was all excited, and he's going through this whole thing, and I'm watching him, and he's looking at me because I think my body language was quite confused. And he's like looking at me, and I said, "Did you read a couple of papers the chamber put together several years ago?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, this is it. It's happening. It's going to happen. So there's a lot of synchronicity happening here. There's a lot of behind the scenes that has happened here. But honestly, it is this whole collaboration and the support of this community that is going to make or break us. And I've been saying that, the chamber's been saying that for years. It is the intention of our whole community to come together and find solutions and talk about possibility. There's so much possibility. There is so much talent in this community. There's so much resilience, and the synergies and the collaboration that's happening right now, this is exciting. This is the time. This is the turning point. Sorry, I get really passionate and really pumped up, and I just want you all to just support this and buy in. And when you hear people, negative people in the community, yeah, there's going to be negative times. I have very negative days, but we need to turn the conversation around to not what the doom and gloom is. There's always the possibility. There's always hope. And when people come together and they pool their resources and their connections, amazing things happen. And why not here? Ask yourself that. Why? Why not here? We have everything that is needed for this. So why not here? It can happen, and it will. Okay, thank you for giving me a moment.
Love your passion. Okay, so that's enough blah, blah, blah from us. But now, Tania, come on up here. Yeah. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate your words. Thank you. So, questions? Anyone? Oh, come on. Yeah, go.
The two hydrogen companies, are they associated? So the one generating the hydrogen and the one with the transportation system, are you linked those two?
Yeah, they are linked through their venture capital. So the people behind both of them, and because it's similar IP. And so, yeah, I've talked to both, and they have both registered companies in Saskatchewan already. Yes. But again, don't get super excited. Gotta be real. Any other questions?
So that's awesome. We've got two brand new uses for our energy and coal here.
Yes.
How do you decide whether it's graphite or hydrogen?
Why?
Or both?
Or both. Let's do both. Why not? Because we got so much coal here and it's going to work. And I would also throw, like, why not carbon fiber? Like, there's so many other things that we can be doing. And these are just two. I mean, I have 3 other files going. They just haven't crossed that point yet where I've done enough due diligence to say yay. Yeah, there's a lot more we can be doing. I think Westmoreland would be very happy. Sorry, Josh.
Gord, is it public what the end user majority of the hydrogen they produce is going to be? Is it looking at putting it in vehicles or most of it being exported? Or?
It's all going to stay in North America. One of the biggest uses is actually going to be in warehousing. So a lot of the equipment that is in warehouses now have already switched to hydrogen. So along that line, I do know, but you're right, I got to be careful. There will be what's called a data room. So what that is just all the details. So because they're going through a thing called due diligence where the venture capital have to double check everything. So that has all those numbers and fun stuff there. So Josh, if you want to see it, or anyone else wants to see that. As far as passenger vehicles, I mean, it feels like, yeah, I am biased. I just did critical thinking, so I'll just admit on that one, I am a little biased. But I know BMW, Toyota, Hyundai, and Kia were, but they're no longer looking at hydrogen, both as a combustion or as a fuel cell. But it seems that right now, the market is leaning strongly towards battery electric vehicles. There is a hydrogen plant, a hydrogen fueling station at the Shell, or was, just down the street from where I lived, and they pulled it out because there was not enough people buying into it. But on big usages, like where a combine uses, something like a combine uses so much energy, that's the perfect fit for it. More questions?
Are there, like, SETH one community?
Yep.
And these companies that you've mentioned,
Yep.
they've approached us.
Yep.
Are there other communities that similar situation as SETH, as unique as SETH, coal, oil, sunlight?
Good question.
Like,
Yes, but they
with other people, or
not right now. And do you know why? CCS.
because of the CCS?
Right? If you're going to go, say, North Dakota or some other place that has lignite, and you want to create green hydrogen, you just don't have the infrastructure just yet. So that is finally being the first disruptor is helping put us ahead. And also, I want to be something clear is there's another group involved in this that's outside of Estevan, that is within Southeast Saskatchewan. So it's also more than just Estevan. I always pay but it's also all of Southeast Saskatchewan.
Is Moab involved in this?
Not yet. They have their own thing going. Conversations have been thought of. We'll leave it at that.
And the other thing to mention is that one of the, and I've asked that question, well, why us? And one of the answers has been that because there is so much positivity and there is so much cooperation amongst a lot of, I mean, to have, again, whether it's the unions or have the municipal government involved, and even our MLA, right? We have a lot of positive people all pointing in the same direction, and that removes resistance.
Any other questions?
We could all go have one more piece of pizza.
Yeah, we can do that in a minute. Should we?
Holdings with the burning hydrogen instead of natural gas for the sustainable server?
Yeah, they have. It's a possibility. Just the way that they've already set themselves up and the way they've set themselves up with their private venture, yeah. So definitely.
It's modular.
Yeah. Yeah, and also they've,
I think it's a good thing.
yeah, no, totally. And especially if we do the CCS, right? Yeah, exactly. I can't say. It's involving a organization. I think they're watching on there right now. A provincial organization. But yeah, it's looking good. Like with the hydrogen, man, like because they need a smaller part of land. Like all the players are talking, all of them. So it's looking, again, no promises, but it's looking good. It's so efficient.
Can that be replicated in transportation? What I mean by that is it's like heavy trucks and.
Comes expertise already set up to do it.
Yeah.
Like, so that's a heavy truck engine. They have big tractors that use it too, right? So they made it so it's run hydrogen. Sure.
I think all of us who are our age and older, when we looked at, as the internet hit us, and then the smartphones hit us, and all this innovation hit us, I would think back then what we thought could happen, and then what actually did happen. It's hard to say. So I'd say with hydrogen and a heavy truck, I'm not sure which way that battle's going. Elon's got a lot of money there, and he's out the gate, but I don't know. But definitely with agriculture. So. Yes, they are. You're saying they are? Yeah, they are. Yeah. I think the biggest one is 20 seats, but yeah, it's coming, especially when this IP becomes more public, because right now they have to have these big, heavy containers holding the hydrogen. So the amount of energy per weight that you're having to do with those containers was making it a bit tougher. But with this IP, and that's with this drone that they flew, that was showing that it can do it. Yes, Tom.
Actually, Airbus is working on tests
So we'll have to extend the runway to get the A330, A380 here. We have the double decker one. Okay. Hydrogen also has a big use outside of transportation and energy. Like a lot of the material that we're wearing right now that comes from oil and gas, hydrogen plays a part in creating those materials. So also with that as well. Alistair.
You've mentioned the innovation cycle before. With some of these changes, where would you say we are right now?
I like Alistair. He's amazing. Thank you. So innovation cycle, what it is, can you hold this? Thank you. So imagine like you have like this little wave here and then it goes like this and then it comes down. That's the best way to describe it. And right where it goes down, there's a big drop. So you guys, dating myself here, the 8-track. So yeah, sorry, the kids. So before, or Sony Beta. So what else? Okay, what's a newer? BlackBerry. I don't know, maybe BlackBerry. So you get the early adopters and they're super excited about something, right? And then the cooler kids will go like, hey, I want to be cool like them. So they'll buy it, right? But then what happens is technology has to be, the grassroots has to want to use it. And it has to solve a pain. And so if it doesn't, it falls down this chasm. And then after that, if it gets past the chasm, it starts back up here, right at the beginning. So when I was talking about AI, like if you, in one what Alistair saw, if you want to make a bunch of money, just create a company and call it .ai and don't do anything. Everyone will just throw you money because everyone is overhyped about AI right now. So it's actually kind of like down here. So, but what will happen is certain types of AI will get past that chasm and it will come over here. EVs just barely just got through that, just I would say in the last year or so. So where is hydrogen? Well, hydrogen, because it already has different uses, some of it's already here and already done. Like I was talking about our clothes or medical, pharmaceutical stuff. In transportation, I would say it's kind of like either approaching the chasm or on some usages above, just past the chasm. Do MIT. Please. Any other questions? Okay, so why don't we do this? Tania and I are always welcome, go out into the community. You want to talk to us more beyond tonight, just email us, set up an appointment. Love to sit down and talk with you, share the information. And yeah, like I can't say it more, like with the solar farms, I had a number of leaders' voices in my head as they approached me going, I don't know. And so by hearing those words, I think I helped direct them in a place that might be successful. So even if you don't like some of the stuff I say, just come and talk to me and we can go from there. So thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Turn the music on. Music on low.